We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal people of Yuggera land, as well as the Woiwurrung people of the Wurundjeri land. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place, and acknowledge that they never ceded sovereignty. We respect all Turrbal and Woiwurrung elders and ancestors, and any First Nations people here today.
I can't take it anymore!
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtstars, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the new Blurt.
You absolutely are listening to the new Blurt. Good evening, or afternoon, or morning, if it is that time when you are listening to this pod or watching it at any time. Hi, I am the Kegsta, and you are listening to the new Blurt. And tonight I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country, the Kulin nation of the Wurundjeri people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been, and always will be Aboriginal land. I will explain later on in the show why I have changed that acknowledgement to country, because it was something I found out today that was very interesting. But before I get on with that, just a quick rundown on the show, which is we'll have Blurt around the world. We're talking about sharks in hot water, Peregrine falcons and what they've got to do with Tay-Tay. The Apple car is dead. The giant fish that's just been repainted, and the local town is quite upset about it. And abortion has just been enshrined in France. It's a world first, apparently. So there you go. We're going to have party in the USA tonight. And Wencee is talking about the Cookie Monster. I'm talking about NRA shenanigans. Chinese takeaway also. Wencee's talking about tourism. And I am talking about the Chinese getting into civil service in Malaysia. So without any further ado, good evening, Wencee.
Hello everyone. Welcome. Hope everyone's had a great week. Before I get started, I want to pay my respect to all. I want to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Yuggera and Turrbal people of the Meanjin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Yes.
Excellent. Always good to see you, my friend. Always good
Likewise.
to see you. So as I was saying, yes, I found out tonight that, as you probably know, the language group of the Indigenous mob is usually the name of the people of the Indigenous mob.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But in the Wurundjeri people and country, that isn't the case. And the reason for that is somewhere along the lines of it's something to do with sort of scarcity of the Indigenous belonging to that actual language group / country, if you like.
Right. Okay.
And so, so it's slightly different. Most of the others, most of the other countries are of the people. But Wurundjeri, I found out, is not.
It's not.
So, no. Yes, the Woiwurrung is what they speak. That is the language, but that is not the people. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Learn something new every day.
You do indeed learn something new every day. And actually, talking about learning something new, I learned something new last week because the other half told me off. So I thought I'd better just explain myself slightly. So I had a bit of homework, and I talked about the Moroccan soup kitchen last week, and they've actually renamed to the Moroccan soup bar. And
it was a restaurant near you. Yep.
Yes. So it was established in 1998, and the whole idea about it, when what I said was that you pay for what you can, et cetera, which is sort of altruistic, but not exactly what it was about as such. So I thought I might just clean it up a little bit. So it was founded on the concept of open hospitality and a mindfulness of our tread. And everything they do and ethos and values are at the heart of the activities. You'll feel all your senses stimulated, blah, 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 blah. Through every interaction, we share experiences, connection in an open and responsible communal way. So it is very, very much community focused. And lately, I think within the last 5 years, it's very much a way for refugees to come into the country that sort of know how to cook, or maybe even if they don't, to go into that restaurant and get some experience cooking and being in community and sort of learning language that way, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's as I say, it's a pretty damn good idea, as it were. But unfortunately, they had to shut up their shop over COVID. So, but saying that, I did speak to Nespace the other day, and she said there is a couple of tables, but apparently only the locals know about it. So it's very, it's very much a what you know sort of shop. So there you go. Anyway, I just wanted to just clear that up a little bit, because it is a good place to go. And if you're in the North Melbourne area or anywhere sort of around there, Flemington, whatever, go down the Moroccan Soup Kitchen and have some really good food down there, and you'd be doing something for the community at the same time. So it's a good thing. Very, very good thing. So
there used to be, you spoke about you pay for what you think it's worth and stuff like that. There used to be a restaurant in St Kilda, Elwood, somewhere along there we used to go to, because I used to live in Elwood, and I think it was vegetarian or vegan. I think it was vegetarian, and they had similar concepts that you paid for what you thought the meal was worth. So it was at the end of Ackland Street, somewhere around there, and I can't remember the name. I'm not even sure if it's still there.
It's interesting, because that concept seems to only ever be available to vegan or vegetarian restaurants.
Yeah.
But,
and wasn't there a Hare Krishna restaurant in the middle of the city in Melbourne?
Yeah, it's still there.
Still there?
It's
I don't know
still
if
there.
that worked on the same principle, or whether it was just a cheap price.
Well, that's called Crossways, and I've been going there since I was 25, I think.
So just a couple of years?
Yeah, just a couple. And Faddis and I used to go there all the time. And it was such a cool place. I mean, you used to get bodybuilders going there, because they would, they'd only pay like, I don't know, $9 or $10, or maybe even less back then. And they would just fill up on like 4 plates of this just amazingly awesome food. And because that way they could get a lot of food and it wouldn't cost them a lot of money. So, but it was funny. It was a really cool place, because you used to get all types in there. You get suits in there, and you'd get the hippies, and just everything. Homeless people that were able to. I think homeless people were allowed to get a free meal at times, or something along those lines, or something. So,
I went there a few times. It was interesting clientele. Yeah, like you said, a wide range.
It is, absolutely. And the other thing is that you sit wherever there's a spare seat. So you're always sort of forced into a communal situation. But I say forced, but you usually end up having a conversation with someone that you never met and you didn't think you would. And just, it is a lovely thing. But I've got to say, though, I found another place as well just the other day. It's another Indian-y vegetarian. I can't remember if it's vegetarian. It's definitely Indian-y, and very cheap, which is hard to say in Melbourne. You don't see very much cheap for lunch nowadays. But yeah, it was really good. It was, I don't know, $10 or something.
Oh wow, jeez, that is cheap.
Yeah, it is. And they just keep coming around to your table if you want more naan bread.
Yes, please. Love a good naan.
Yeah, well, the thing is nowadays, my digestion, etc., is not as happy as it used to be of naan. So I'm just like, I'll have a little, but not too much, not too much.
I do make a mean naan bread at home, so whenever we have Indian, the request is always there. Can you make naan bread? I would go, of course. It's the only way to eat Indian in this household.
Nice.
Homemade
Well,
naan.
You might have to post that recipe on the show notes or something.
All right, I can do that. It is done in a Thermomix, but the ingredients equally works. It's just dough.
You don't have to be like a fandangled Thermomix maker.
No. If you've got a regular, what do you call it? Pastry mixer or whatever they're called.
Oh yes, those plebs with those mixers and things. Yes, absolutely.
Your usual, your kitchen aid mixers. Still about half the price of a Thermomix, but does the job.
Yes, no, absolutely. Okay, yeah, no, well, no, if you could put that in, that'd be good.
Yeah,
I'm sure a few people like to make homemade naan, and I know you're quite a good cook. Because you do your own pizza too, don't you?
we make our own pizza dough. Yes,
Yeah,
again in
yeah.
the Thermomix, but we used to do it in one of those KitchenAid style mixers before it got killed in the floods 2 years ago. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Sounds like the Thermomix is the answer to everything, though.
Yeah, it can do a bit of everything. Does cooking, does everything for you.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I'll tell you something else that sounded pretty good, but not so much now. And just have a listen to this, because at the time, this ad is from 9 years ago, but just have a listen.
The automobile has remained largely unchanged for over 100 years. At Apple, we thought, how can we f that shit up? Introducing Apple Car. What you first notice when you sit in Apple Car is that there's no wheel or pedals. Siri does all the driving for you by using Apple Maps to take the most efficient route every time. You'll be gliding through back streets with all the ease of an Apple lawyer gliding through corporate tax loopholes.
Siri, take me to Cupertino.
Now driving you to the bottom of Lake Superior.
Energetically in styrofoam, Apple Car can be personalized with a range of apologetic silicon covers that elegantly snap on to protect Apple Car's most important feature, Bono, who will sit in the back seat every U2 on loop for the life of the car. The windscreen itself is made from sapphire crystal, which is 1,000 times stronger than glass, unless something touches it. Apple Car doesn't crash, and if it does crash, it's probably because of user error. Apple Car wouldn't be an Apple product if it had windows, so we got rid of them and replaced them with gorgeous retina displays. When it comes to looking at your surroundings, the passenger is always in the driver's seat. If you're driving around Silicon Valley and you don't want to see homeless people, simply swipe them away. Oh, look, a harmonious multiracial picnic. Apple Car is fully electric, and with Apple's Craptic engine, it can drive continuously for 24 minutes a day on a single charge. And there's enough onboard storage to hide as many Chinese workers that have committed suicide during the assembly of the car. Which is,
ouch.
and that's 3 more than any other car. Apple Car represents the most important, most magical, most revolutionary, and genuinely exciting automotive industry innovation since the built-in iPhone charger.
Apple Car. R.I.P. I wish we got to see you.
Yes, well, I mean, and the beautiful thing about that, as we all know, anyone that saw that, it's our friend of the show, Dan Ellick. But that's from 9 years ago, and that's from 9 years ago. So he was saying basically how good that was 9 years ago, and 9 years ago on. The Apple Car is dead. It was doomed from the start, and the news isn't exactly a surprise given the last few years have been filled with story after story about the project struggle, but a new postmortem shows the Titan floundered from the start. So there's a bit of info here.
Does it say why got canned? Was it too expensive?
Go for it. I was just going to say, Apple, which by then had 155 billion in cash spent lavishly to hire hundreds of people with experience in machine learning and type of AI technology and other capability crucial to making a self-driving car. The influx of people made the project among the first that Apple had developed with so many outsiders new to the company's culture. And it says here, all right, okay, so that's all right. Okay, that's fine. So up here it says, when the Apple launched in 2014, it was among stampede of investors. At the time, the company was dealing with questions from its top engineers about its project, according to 3 people familiar with the project's origins. Apple needed to find new ways to expand its business, so they were trying to do the Apple Car, part of the $2 trillion transportation industry that could help Apple. But despite having a vote of confidence from Apple's chief executive, members of the team knew they were working against harsh realities. According to 6 employees familiar with the project, if it ever came to market, an Apple Car was likely to cost at least $100K and still only generate a razor-thin profit compared with smartphones and earbuds. So obviously it wasn't profitable. They couldn't make it profitable. And those snap-on covers just weren't cutting it, basically.
And they would have locked you into the ecosystem, so you wouldn't have been able to use different charging cables, I'm sure, or be compatible to what you see in the outside world, like in that video showed. Like you wouldn't be able to see exactly what other people see because they don't want you to see other things. So yes.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And it's interesting. Apparently, because it was meant to be a self-driving car, we already know how many issues there's been with the self-driving car.
Just after Tesla. The troubles been in.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. 100% correct. 100% correct. Apple is dead, as we said. But things that aren't dead.
Apple Car.
Yes. Sorry, Apple Car is dead. Yes. Sorry, that was wishful thinking by me. Things that aren't dead, which is very, very good, is the Peregrine falcons. Now, this will be music to your ears. No pun intended.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what the correlation is between falcons and Tay-Tay.
Yes, and Tay-Tay. So what happened was the Falcon lives in the Stadium Australia. And as crews were preparing the venue for Taylor Swift's opening night, a wildlife rescuer was called in to remove the bird before the show began, and a storm closed in. The falcon will be released back to the stadium in a couple of days after it recovers. And this is the picture. It's quite a nice one.
Oh,
hey! That's definitely one of those, what the fuck are you looking at?
Leave me alone. This is my house.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So Swifty was taken away by Ms. Krause from the Sydney Wildlife Rescue before being assessed at Taronga Wildlife Hospital, where it was revealed the bird had not fractured any bones, which is really good because, as you probably know, the Peregrine falcon is protected.
Okay, no, I didn't know that, but
yeah, no, it is definitely protected, and it's a beautiful bird. And Ms. Krause said the bird was likely suffering from the heat, which reached 37.9 degrees at Olympic Park on the Friday before the storm-forced concert goers to seek shelter.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit here about our other friend, Craig Rucastle, about rescuing the falcons at the concert. You can't keep the chaser out, can you? You just can't keep them out.
Busy boys, that's for sure.
On ABC Radio Sydney, this is Craig Rucastle.
Now we're talking Sydney.
Well, I know we did promise that Taylor Swift hype would die down soon, and the last concert happened last night. But in the meantime, here's a great story, and it's a bit of a bird story, really. As the opening night crowd was starting to stream into Olympic Park.
Now, I'll let you have that teaser. It goes for about seven minutes, so you can have a listen to that in your own time. But yeah, we'll have the link in the show notes, and it's got the link to the little video, and it's definitely worth having a little listen to. So. Couple of pictures of Tay-Tay if you just can't get enough.
Show me more.
I was reading the big issue this week that had Tay-Tay on the front, and I read a Tay-Tay article, which was really, really interesting. But, you think about the whole world, and believe it or not, there are some people that do not like Tay-Tay.
No shit.
And
do they dislike Tay-Tay, or do they dislike the media attention that Tay-Tay gets?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think they dislike, that one. I think they dislike the media attention that one gets. And I think we all know who we're talking about.
11,780 votes to win the election. No, fellas, I need 11,000 votes.
Losers only. It's Trump Watch. China.
Right. So what you're looking at, if you are looking at this, and if you're not looking at this, what we're looking at is a website called payuptrump.com. And now with compounding interest. And so on this site, it tells you exactly how much money he's up for at the moment on the last case. That has nothing to do with the 100 million he's now up for with Eugene Carroll case. Mm-hmm. This is just the case he just lost. And this case...
Which case was this one?
We'll go through that in 2 seconds.
Okay.
This was actually a civil fraud case, believe it or not. And we will go through that in 2 seconds because we are going to go through... I've got a Trump tracker here and it tells you all the cases that he's going through. So at the moment, he's up for $465,796,508. And I believe he's got, I'm trying to work out, we've got a timer going on here. And I think it's 20 days, 6 hours, and 32 minutes and 24 seconds. He's got to pay that, pay the money. I think that's what it is. And then she starts, Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, starts seizing his assets, which obviously he's not very happy about, and most of us are. Yeah. So the other thing as well is that because, as we know, he's so rich, he said to the judge, hey, look, seriously, come on, let's do a deal. I'll just pay you $100 million. How's that? Will that do? And the judge went, yeah, whatever you reckon.
She actually agreed to that.
Of course not.
Okay.
She's not the judge. She's the prosecutor.
Yes.
Judge Ingram is definitely did not agree to that at all, especially since he's been less than respectful of the judicial system, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like he's done anything to actually, try to improve his situation.
Yeah, does not deserve any compassion, does he?
No, absolutely. And this dude is not giving him any at all. So what I thought we'd do, just go quickly because there's just so much and we've got to get on with the show type thing. But as Trump attempts to delay his criminal trials, he's already been hit with more than $500 million. That's what we were just looking at. Payuptrump.com if you want that link. Payuptrump.com. In penalties from a pair of New York civil trials, Trump has twice been found liable for sexually abusing and defaming Eugene Carroll by injuries, awarding her a combined $88 million in damages. In his New York civil fraud trial, a judge decided Trump and the Trump organization had lied about the value of their assets, $350 million, which we just looked at 2 seconds ago. So, okay. So what we've got is in fact, what I might do is just put these on. So what we've got is a classified documents case in Florida. Now, that's going to be a hard one because the judge is a Trump appointee.
Yeah, of course.
So she's doing everything she possibly can to delay that. So that's not a great one. We have the hush money case in New York, which is Alvin Bragg is the Attorney General on that one. And that will start in 20 days' time. And look, he can go to jail for that. He probably won't, but he could go to jail for that. But I doubt that he will. Then you've got the January 6th case in Washington. Now, the problem with that is that Orangehead has decided that he has full immunity, so therefore he can do whatever he likes. So therefore everything that he did was fine and above board. which is interesting because I saw a tweet today and they were saying, well, that you've got full immunity. Surely that means that Biden can just reject the election coming up, totally cancel it, and keep himself in office for as long as he likes.
Yeah.
And I went, well, that's the natural conclusion. That's
Yeah.
the natural conclusion. I mean, if that is what the Supreme Court comes back with, and they go, he has full immunity. Well, I don't know why Biden would leave office. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then you've got the 2020 election meddling case in Georgia. Now, this one's an interesting one because I will tell you why. Because at the moment, the person that is conducting the case against 19 defendants, this is a RICO case, which is like it's a corruption against the system sort of case. A lot of times these are very much mafia sort of type cases. RICO, it's called racketeering, basically. Yeah,
Right.
but because that's how this has been conducted. Anyway, I'll just show you in the RICO case. These are all the people that have been indicted. No, so January 6th. Here we go. This is the one. So all of those people, Sidney Powell, absolute 100% nutbag. Not a nutbag, but a liar. Another nutbag, obviously a nutbag. A liar. And she was a ex-lawyer of his, and now she's flipped on him. She has flipped. There's quite a few defendants that have flipped against him. So I think he's flipped as well. He's flipped. So there's quite a few, and I imagine there'll be more. I'm pretty sure he flipped. And as you can see, Fannie Willis is the Fulton County District Attorney. Now, the controversy there is that at the moment she's not under investigation. She's in a court via the prosecutors of the defendants, i.e. Trump, etc., in that particular case, in the election meddling case. Because apparently she had a affair with a dude that was conflict of interest, blah, 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 blah. And so, basically what they're doing is everything they can to throw her off the case because she's a bulldog. Okay. She's an absolute bulldog. So, and there's no doubt that these people had an affair, but it had absolutely nothing to do with the case whatsoever. They're just trying to pull anything they can. This is going to come out next week, and I think the judge will basically just throw it out and say, no, she's not disqualified, move on with the case. They tried everything under the sun. It was just, it's pretty ridiculous. But anyway, so that's what the Georgia one's about. The E. Jean Carroll one is one we just spoke about before when he has been the second time round. Basically, the jury is that he was accused of rape, basically. So I love this. Of rape? No, he was accused of rape. He absolutely was. And,
that's right. Yeah, the E. Jean Carroll one. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, that's what the case is all about. And the Trump Organization civil fraud case is the one that we are looking at right there. Just going up as we look at.
It's getting close to that 500 million.
465 million. He does not have 465 million hanging about. In fact,
not even
I
assets,
would think. Yeah, well, it is. It's 20. I reckon he does have it in assets.
Okay.
Maybe, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. But I'm a bit like you.
Well, didn't he overinflate the asset value? So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. And so that's the other problem, hey. So he might sell his assets, etc., but people might not want to pay what he thinks they're worth, and so therefore you're going to have to sell more assets.
Yep. Diddums. I'm so.
I know
I feel so sorry for him.
I know, it's horrible, isn't it? It's so horrible. But anyway, so the Supreme Court are looking at his immunity status at the moment. They've just come to his aid and allowed all the states in America not to throw him off the ballot because another state just threw him off the ballot just recently. So there's not much they can do about that. But the hush money case in New York, which is on in 20 days' time, that one is about when he paid a porn star. Now, it's not a big deal, okay, that he paid a porn star because it's orange-haired and you expect him to do, sleazy things like that. But the problem is that he, when he paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels to quash her story about having an extramarital affair with a former president, the problem with that is that he falsely classified the transaction and executed via the Trump organization as legal expenses. Now, that is a criminal offense. That is a criminal
Federal
offense.
criminal offense, or it must be.
It is.
Or is it
Yeah,
a state?
absolutely it is.
Yeah.
No, it's federal. It's absolutely federal. So that one's going to be interesting. That's in 20 days' time, and that will not be stopped. There's no reason that should be stopped at all. It doesn't matter if he's got immunity or whatever. So So anyway, that is where it's tracking. If you want to know what he's up for 465 million at the moment, and we will keep an eye on this page, the new Blurt, and we might post a few things during the week. Just say what he's up to.
Let's see where it gets up to on our next show next week.
Yes, that'll be pretty cool. Yeah, so I'll definitely pin this now. So definitely will pin this. But it's interesting. Talking about sharks. I mean, seriously, what a segue.
Good segue.
It's quite sad, actually. Quite sad. Scary as all get out, but sad as well. So what we're looking at is a great white shark, and the link will be in the show notes, that is on the New South Wales coast, and is probably only about 2.5 to 3 meters in from where you could just walk along the sand in about 10 centimeters of water. So
too close, close to comfort.
I agree, but this poor thing's struggling. It's dying. I hope in its defense it was dying of old age or something. Because
I wonder if sharks fight amongst each other.
It's a great question, and I don't know the answer. But I thought that was an interesting one. So
very sad.
I thought that was an interesting one.
Opposite of sad.
Yes,
the French, they do good things sometimes.
They do indeed. What do you got?
And overnight, they have enshrined in their constitution they've enshrined abortion rights for women. So yes, exactly. Big round of applause to France there. So they've become the very first country in the world to have that in the constitution, where every female assigned at birth has the right to an abortion, unlike what we see in America, where they overturned the Roe versus Wade a few years ago. And so in the parliament in France, it was a majority of 780 to 72 in the vote. So it was overwhelmingly supported by everyone in the parliament there. President Macron sees this as a source of French pride and a universal message for women's rights. So it's great to see that, and hopefully more countries take that on board. Usually it takes one country to make that move, and it has little ripple effects. And the public, the French people as well, strongly support it with an 86% majority, according to a recent poll. So yeah, overwhelmingly supported by everyone. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good news.
I think that's amazing news and nicely done. Question: where does Australia sit on that side? Like, do we have those rights here as well, or
we've not. I don't think any government would be talking about that. But there are protections at state level, I believe. So every state is different. But my understanding is that they're still legal here, and they still have protection rights for women. So whether it ever gets put into the Constitution's another thing, and we know how hard it is to get anything into the Constitution here in Australia.
Don't we?
So I don't think it will be on the cards anytime soon, considering we lost the yes vote last year.
For such a simple ask. Yeah, such a simple ask. Yeah.
So I don't think it'll ever be discussed here in Australia for the Constitution, but I'm sure it's firmly in place at the state level, at the very least. So I don't think we've got any fears here, unlike America.
Good on the French. And the beautiful thing about that too was that the Congress of both houses of Parliament had a supermajority needed for the change, with 780 in favour and 72 lawmakers voting against. So, as you said, just absolutely phenomenal. So that's fantastic. Yeah, it is. That's awesome.
I didn't even know
really
that was up for a change, but yeah, it was great news to hear.
Yeah, it is, especially as we said before. I mean, what you keep hearing in America, you just keep thinking, oh my God, I mean, if it's just gone back into the 1950s or something. Yeah. It's just, and now with the IVF, it's really quite funny because the Republicans are just, running around themselves. They're like, well, I am pro-life and I won't allow abortion because the fetus is a child, and therefore you can't kill the fetus, or even an embryo as a child you can't kill. And then they said, okay, so you don't support IVF then? Oh no, support IVF. Well, with IVF, unfortunately, the way the process works is that embryos do die, because that's just the way the IVF process works. So you either do support it or you don't support it. And so there's a lot of Republicans on the fence at the moment, like leaders, and they're just tying themselves up in knots over this one. So, and
obviously confused, going, "What? I didn't know embryos died during IVF process."
Yeah. No, well, exactly right. I heard one of the funniest things the other day. There was this guy. He's quite a right-wing nut job in America, and he's just banging on about stuff he really doesn't know much about. And then this comedian just sort of came on, and he gave two pictures. He gave a picture of an embryo and gave a picture of he gave a picture of an embryo, and he showed where the tail was. And the guy was going, see, and he's saying, see, you believe that is a person and has a right and should be saved at all costs, and has a life, etc. And you fully endorse that. And he says, yes, absolutely, from birth, etc. And then he shows the picture of the embryo, and then he shows that it's a dolphin. And
confusing.
Yeah, it's just, you don't even know what you're looking at. You go, no, what are you even talking about? You don't even know what you're talking about. You absolute numbnut. So Anyway,
yes. On with the show.
Absolutely. Talking about people that don't know what they're talking about. Jesus, seriously.
When you give blood, you're more than just a blood donor. You're the lifeblood of Australia. Search Give Blood and book your donation with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood today. Give life. Give blood.
The Australia Institute produces high-quality research that has real-world impact, whether it's revealing the $10.3 billion in fossil fuel subsidies provided by federal and state governments last year, or our long-standing research advocating for a federal anti-corruption commission with real teeth. We change minds. To donate, head on over to australiainstitute.org.au.
It's a party in the USA.
Okay, part in the USA. Yes. I've got a nice, quick, short one because I know we're running out of time as well. But yes.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. I came across this sort of cute article, but serious at the same time. Cookie Monster from Sesame Street has weighed in on the economy, and I never thought that Sesame Street would ever get serious about world affairs and let alone the economy. But Cookie Monster was complaining about shrinkflation, and as some of us know, shrinkflation is the process of companies reducing product size but maintaining the same price. And
we were talking about this just the other day on beers, weren't we?
Yes, we were. But yes, Cookie Monster complained on social media, and I have here for show and tell. Cookie Monster tweeted just earlier today, me hate shrinkflation. Me cookies are getting smaller, with a frown face.
Frowny face.
Yeah, frowny face, which obviously has kicked off a bunch of other tweets, and Cookie Monster then also replies to that same thing. Guess me going to have to eat double the cookies. And he shows 2 cookies emojis there.
I have a question. I have a question. How did you get onto the Cookie Monster on Twitter?
It's easy. Just Google it, mate.
But why would you be looking for the Cookie Monster on Twitter? You must have had a reason.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't come across it on Twitter. I just saw the article in the Guardian News, and yeah, that's where they talked about the Cookie Monster.
Followed the links. Nice.
Yeah, and then followed the links and found the actual tweet. And obviously, people weighed in on the effects. Some people complaining that Biden's caused all of this, which obviously shrinkflation has been happening for a long time.
Bullshit.
Even during Orange Head's tenure as president,
it's
and
crap.
even before that. Yeah, so I'm just scrolling here through some other tweets. There's an image there of Cookie Monster eating cookies. Someone saying, "How dare they shrink the cookies?" Obviously, the waistline hasn't shrunk. Cookie Monster.
Could have been referring to Orange Head there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be. All of us who eat cookies / biscuits.
Yeah. But
or bickies.
it is terrible though. It is shocking. You go in there now, and Woolworths or Coles, whatever it is, and you just you're looking at this product and you go, I'm sure this is smaller, and then you think, no, maybe it's not. And then you get it home and you have a look at the grammage, and you look at the grammage from last time and you go, it's 20 grams smaller. It's like,
I remember the biggest packet of chips you used to get was like 200 grams. Now they're 170 or 160 now.
Yeah, they just keep bringing it down, don't they? They are just scumbags.
Why not just keep it the same size and just accept that people are going to have to pay more?
Yes. Yes. I mean, we know your prices are going up, but this is the problem, though. The things are getting smaller. The prices aren't getting cheaper.
No. And then the supermarkets have the nerve of claiming that this is on special when they have those ticketed items, yet the prices in the background have actually gone up, but the special price is what they were charging last week as regular price.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
yeah,
They do that too. It's really, really cheeky stuff. There's
yeah,
no doubt about it. Well,
exactly. And
you got any more stuff on the Cookie Monster there?
yeah, so Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, who is a Democrat, has weighed in on all of this and has also
She likes a cookie.
agreed. Sherrod, I think, is a man.
Oh, he
He's a
likes a
male.
cookie.
He does like his cookies, and he is also complaining about the shrinkflation. So he also said, "Me too, Cookie Monster. Big corporations shrink the size of their products without shrinking their prices, all to pay for CEO bonuses. People in my state of Ohio are fed up. They should get all the cookie they pay for." So yeah, so he's complained, and Joe Biden has weighed in on it as well, because he's a big ice cream fanatic,
Yes.
and
Yes, he
he's
likes an
noticed
ice
as
cream.
well that ice creams have shrunk and keeping the same price. So
But again, what this comes back to is organic, but face to face. So if you go in and get an ice cream, right? If you go in and get an ice cream from a proper ice cream seller that sells ice creams,
yeah,
i.e., they make their ice cream, they put it in a cone, a cornet or a cone, and they give it to you. That size of that ice cream has not changed much since I was a kid. It's still the same size.
Yep.
So that's my point. If you go to them, and it's like if you go to like where I get my salami, I ask them to cut how much I want. So I'm getting as much as I want and as much as I wanted years ago. But when you're buying packaged stuff that's in plastic, processed, etc., you've got no control over it. And that's where we need to take the control back. Like you're talking about cookies, right? Well, go to a place that actually home makes their cookies.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a little longer. It does take longer. But Jesus, we've got 24 hours in a day, and we're all going to die at some stage. So you might as well eat the stuff you really want to eat rather than pay for tiny little cookies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you don't have to eat biscuits every day, so they are a treat. You just buy them when you need to, and you eat them in that short time period before they expire, and just enjoy it. Make it a treat. Don't make it an everyday thing. Agreed.
For the longest time now, I've definitely been on the bandwagon of pay as much as you can afford to eat the thing you want to eat. Don't muck about. Don't try to get cheap ass, because you just won't feel as good after it. You go, I should have spent that little bit more money, So but anyway, so shrinkflation, I totally agree with that.
We're on your side, Cookie Monster. That's all I've got to say on that one now.
No, well, absolutely. Well, I mean, stung by shrinkflation, well, the NRA has been stung by a corruption verdict tied to millions of misspent dollars. So we talked about this 465 million that's going up all the time. It's just lovely to see, by old Orange Head. Well, Orange Head and the NRA were sort of quite good friends, really. And he said a lot of bullshit, to be honest. I mean, that's all he ever does. But a Manhattan jury found that the National Rifle Association's former leader, Wayne LaPierre, can you believe that is the CEO of a gun place? Wayne LaPierre. I've never heard of a Ponzi
All I see is
name.
the mullet
Such
Wayne.
Ponzi name. Anyway, had used the group's funds to pay for lavish personal expenses. Who would have thought? Including vacations and luxury flights. I'm pretty sure this dude and Clarence Thomas, who's on the Supreme Court over there, are good friends. I mean, I don't know if they are, but they do exactly the same thing. They take lavish luxury cruises from people they probably shouldn't. Clarence Thomas. No, he actually does. It's factual.
Oh, he does.
He does.
Proven.
It's factual.
Right, okay.
See, the weird thing about the Supreme Court over there, right? It's hard to get your head around this. They made laws that the Supreme Court is so supreme that they only have laws that are suggestions
Right.
as Supreme Court justices, i.e., the suggestion that maybe they should be ethical, the suggestion that maybe they should recuse themselves from this case because I have a conflict of interest, like my wife is a climate denier, a big lie, conspiracy theorist, and a Trump lover. So maybe I should recuse myself of this case. No, nothing like that.
Wow.
Nothing like that at all. So, yeah, this guy's a shocker. In fact, that guy is such a shocker. John Oliver, who we've talked about on the show before, who was in charge of the Puteki Teki, winning the Bird of the Year in New Zealand, he has said to Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court, he said, if you quit today, I will pay you $1 million out of my pay until I die.
Wow.
So
Jeez,
obviously,
how much does John Oliver earn?
He's making a lot of money. Yeah, he'd been making at least $10 million a year, at least. So yeah, he's been winning Emmys nearly every year for the last I don't know how many years. But yeah. But I'm sure there'll be no shortage of people that would want to help him out if he couldn't pay it anyway. But yeah, so he said, and he's got this massive Winnebago Dreamliner to sweeten the deal. It's worth about $2.5 million as well, because apparently Clarence likes taking holidays. Apparently,
wow.
So that's how much Oliver wants him to get off, and that's how bad he is. He's terrible. He's really, really bad. Anyway, he does what this dude does, and this dude, unfortunately, has got into the eyesight of Letitia James. Now, Letitia James is the person that is responsible for that.
For this one.
Which is
New York?
$466 million. Yeah. Yep. So the head office is in New York of the NRA. Yeah, absolutely. So she's been checking them out for a while, and in a sweeping rebuke of the National Rifle Association, the nation's most prominent guns right group, and is a massive reason why they can't change the gun laws over there, and why they have so many shootings, because they have ridiculous gun laws over there. The jury, after a week of deliberations, found that the group's former leader, Wayne LaPierre, had used funds to pay for his personal expenses, including vacations, luxury flights for his relatives, and yacht rides. And two other top executives had failed in their duties to This is a non-profit organisation, by the way.
Yeah, right.
So
that's because they spend it for themselves. That's
exactly right. Exactly right. 100%. Well, you know what they say: charity starts at home. The case brought by New York's Attorney General Letitia James touched the uppermost echelons of the gun rights group. In addition to Mr. LaPierre, the defendants included the former treasurer, Wilson Phillips, I can't believe that, the whole band, and its the general counsel, John Fraser, who still works for the group. NRA itself was also the defendant and was found to have ignored whistleblower complaints and submitted false filings to the state. So, yeah, this is pretty bad. So the decision in the suit brought by Miss James was undoubtedly a low watermark for the group, but another high one for her. It was her second major victory. We know about Orange Head. And Miss James said late Friday the NRA verdict was a major victory for the people of New York. For years, LaPierre used charitable dollars to fund his lavish lifestyle for himself and his family. Today, after years of rampant corruption and self-dealing, LaPierre and NRA are finally being held accountable. Can you believe it? So
only one person, though. It's got to bring the whole organisation down.
Well, true, but there's a few things happening here, though. LaPierre has misspent $5.4 million. He's repaid some of that sum, but must still repay $4.35 million. I'd love to know how he's going to do that. And Wilson Phillips, the whole band, must repay $1.2 million. Oh, they'd find that pretty easy, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
The judge overseeing the case will decide in the second phase of the trial whether a monitor should be installed oversee the NRA's administration of charitable assets, because that's what's just happened to old Orange Head with the Trump organization. He's got an independent monitor. He cannot make decisions for the next 3 years without someone looking over his shoulder, which is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
So, again, because it's a non-profit, fines paid by the defendants will be returned to the organization. The outcome will hardly be a financial panacea, given that the NRA has spent tens of millions of dollars a year in legal fees defending its other cases. So the NRA tried to put a positive spin on it, saying it showed it was victimized by certain former vendors and insiders who abused trust placed in them. In other words, you dobbed on me. A parade of NRA witnesses and independent experts established the NRA was a victim of actions that were pursued in secrecy and not in the interests of the association, et cetera, et cetera. So P. Kent Coral declined to comment. That's LaPierre's lawyer, et cetera. What else we got? It's quite a long. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Does he go to jail?
So that's what I'm looking at. So LaPierre officially stepped down at the end of January. He still professed that his passion for the cause burns as deeply as ever. So his passion to ensure that AR-15s are in the hands of nutbags, that's his passion. That's what he believes
I
in.
want every child in this country to have a gun or a machine gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Idiots.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Well, I think Samuel says it the best, actually. If I've got one here we go.
AK-47, when you absolutely, positively got to kill every mother in the room, that's no substitute.
Yeah, I'm sure he would endorse that. So, on Friday evening, Chris Brown, the president of Brady, another anti-gun group, said the monetary damages confronting Mr. LaPierre were only a drop in a bucket for what he owes the American people for the carnage he fueled. So there you go. Wayne LaPierre no longer is the CEO of NRA, which is a very, very good thing. That is a good thing. But yeah, as you say, it's just a drop in the ocean. But, at least it's something. So
yeah, it doesn't fix the gun problem in America, unfortunately. But
no,
because there'll be someone else who will be there batting for the guns to stay in people's hands in America. But we all know what we think about that.
We do indeed. And
lunacy.
I know, yes, lunacy, absolutely. I know what we think about this too.
Hey, this is Hannah Melville Ray from the Australia Institute. I'm listening to the new Blurt with Wencee and the Kegsta, and you should be too. It's on Tuesday nights, live from around 8 p.m.
Hi, it's Ashley Fils-Aimé here, and you're listening to the new Blurt with Wencee and Kegsta.
Like Chinese.
Oh no, I was just going to say. Speaking of Ash, Fils-Aimé. Have you seen his latest tweets or Instagram?
Oh no, go tell me.
He's come across or bumped into the great man himself. Oh damn it, forgotten his name.
Nathan Buckley.
Nathan Buckley. Yes.
I think of a great man, and that's the first name that comes to my head.
Yeah, once on a cruise ship, and the other one somewhere in Melbourne, I think it was. But yes, I thought that was quite hilarious. And
yes,
he's a Demons fan, so
yes, true. He's hobnobbing with absolute legends. I know. I mean, he's too good for our show. I mean,
yeah.
Ash, if you ever listen to any of our podcasts, even the ones you've been on, it'd be great if you came back. It's hard to get his time now. He's either cruising or he's doing a show, and I know the Melbourne International Comedy Festival is just around the corner, so no doubt he'll have a show in that. I'd imagine. He's always working. So I will reach out again to him because it'll be great to get him on the show. I'm sure he's got heaps to talk about. So especially meeting the great man, that would be very, very cool. So yeah.
We'll do that after the comedy festival in Melbourne.
Yes, definitely. Well, maybe even during. We'll just see how we go. Anyway.
I like Chinese. There's 900 million of them in the world today.
Okay, some Chinese takeaway. I'm going to talk about Chinese tourism in Australia, or lack of. The Chinese have not returned in their numbers as the tourism industry expected once the borders opened up. I think China opened up its own borders for their people to start traveling just over a year ago. I think it was 23 from 22, somewhere around that time. So Australian tourism industry, we're really expecting a big influx of Chinese to come back to Australia because pre-pandemic numbers, we were getting close to 700,000 tourists a year, whereas September 2023, Australia only received 102,000 Chinese holiday makers, so the numbers are completely down. So a lot of local tourist companies in Australia are struggling because they did rely on the Chinese market. One of those examples is Global Ballooning in Melbourne, where 50% of their clientele were from China, and that's gone down considerably since the pandemic and hasn't bounced back. Global Ballooning, for example, we're expecting a full recovery this year, but now it's become a lot slower, so they're expecting hopefully to get the numbers back late 2024, if not 2025. Some people, economists and other specialists, are doubtful that the Chinese tourists will come back to Australia in the numbers pre-pandemic. Some of the reasons for that decline and why they're not coming back is, one of them is because the Chinese economy is not performing as well. So just like us, they're struggling with cost of living. So a lot of Chinese tourists are traveling to visa-free destinations like Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia.
That makes sense.
Yep. Why spend 10, 12 hours on a plane coming to Australia when they can do it in 3 or 4?
Yeah.
They're also preferring short haul flights, like I was just saying. So local companies in Australia who relied on the Chinese market and are now trying to diversify and attract other tourists from different countries. For example, United States, Taiwan, Hong Kong, even though Hong Kong's part of China, but Hong Kong must be experiencing different economy to the rest of China, mainland China. So we're seeing some of those tourists come back here more so than China. Booking platform Trip.com has reported a 30% increase in Chinese tourism to Southeast Asia compared to 2019 levels. So yeah, that's again indicating that the Chinese are traveling closer to home than further abroad. So it's bad for our economy in one respect, but a lot of our tourist companies just need to expand their markets and not rely on a single country for tourism. So so sad that we're seeing this, but hopefully these companies will bounce back and offer incentives for other countries or even local tourism expand there. So so that's my little story on Chinese takeaway.
Absolutely. So the fact, what's the percentage that China is down in the tourism? What are we talking monetary wise, and what are we talking percentage wise? People.
Good questions. I don't know about either of those figures, but it like this one company, their reliance on 50% of their clientele has dropped down to 25, so it's halved since pandemic and hasn't recovered fully yet. So I'd guess that would be very similar. Yeah, and like I said earlier, pre-pandemic, Australia was getting nearly 700,000 tourists. A few months ago, that number is only 102,000. So they definitely have not come back.
100. Say that again. Say those figures again.
100,000 visited Australia in 2023.
Yeah.
As opposed to 700 pre-pandemic in 2019.
700,000.
Yeah.
So they're 7 times down.
7 times down, correct. So
wow,
yeah,
that is
huge difference.
That is huge. That's massive.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that too is that if you design your university revenue around international students, will more fool you, because that is terrible revenue.
Yeah.
I can't find a word.
Business model.
Business model framework. Yeah, absolutely. It's a terrible business model.
Sure is. Sure is. And yeah, universities were hit hard during the pandemic because a lot of those university students couldn't come back. And the ones that were here were stuck here and did do their degrees here, but yeah, we couldn't get new students. So yeah, bad model.
Yeah, no, it is a shocking model. Okay, well, yeah, no, it is. I mean, but the thing is, I mean, Chinese, I think, is about 1.4 billion, probably maybe 1.5 now. I'm not sure. And there's so many of them around the world, because I think there's nearly 8 billion or 7.7 billion people on this planet. If 1.4 billion of them are Chinese.
Yeah. And a little bit more of those than that Indian. So between two countries, we've nearly got
half
50%.
the population. I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Isn't that crazy? That's absolutely crazy. That is nuts. Something else is not particularly crazy, but what's happening is in Malaysia, the Chinese over there, as you know, there's quite a few Chinese in Malaysia, are not particularly happy about joining the civil service. And the reason is they're saying that it's quite a racially divided service. And it's sort of being played out in that the Prime Minister's political secretary, Chan Ming Kai, announced that the government would launch a new campaign to encourage more Chinese to join the civil service. Now, I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from. I'm not sure where the directive is that they want that to happen, whether they just want to have a diverse civil service of all the people that live in the country, and we'll sort of go through that in a second. Or is that a directive, I don't know, that China themselves are sort of whispering into someone over there? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Influencing Malaysia in some way.
I'm not sure. But the campaign is held due to the low number of Chinese who are interested in working for the government. So there's been civil service commendable. It's not by the first such campaign. Various variations of such campaigns were held over the years, etc., etc., etc. A couple of things here is that in the case of low participation of Chinese in the civil service, what they're doing like a road show to say why the Chinese should try to get into want to be part of the civil service, basically. And there's quite a few dissenters on that roadshow saying that it's the message you're trying to send. It's nothing to do with the civil service. It's like, well, it is to do with the civil service. It's not the message you're sending. It's the fact it's a message about civil service. You need to reform your civil service first. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in a second. So there's only a few Chinese in the civil service that have pretty high roles. This guy's one of them. just showing a picture of Dak Tuck Kwok Kok Chin. And he is the former Penang police chief officer, and he's got a Chinese background. He was just been promoted to the director of narcotics crime investigation. As we know, they're very, very down on their narcotics in Malaysia. So whatever you do, if you're ever thinking about going to Malaysia, don't do any drugs of any kind, and don't get involved with anyone that does.
Yes.
Oh, you might not come back.
Alive.
Alive, exactly right. Spot on. Yeah, beautifully done.
Not a
Nicely put
laughing
in there.
matter, but yes.
Yes. No, it's not a laughing matter. They don't muck around. Anyway, back then, this is in 2022, had alleged that the race-based policy in the recruitment and promotion had made many non-Malays, i.e. Chinese in this case, reluctant to join this civil service. And I'll just give you a couple of percentages here, and you'll understand why. The former Special Functions Minister, Datuk Dr. Abdul Latif Ahmad, love these names, had informed D1 Raikat that about 90% of the 1.2 million civil servants were Bumi Puteras. Now, give me a second. He had said that Putrajaya did not impose any quota based on race or ethnicity for the civil service intake. So, Bumi Puteras means indigenous peoples of Malaysia and Indonesia.
Right.
So exactly as the guy was talking about, 90% are Malaysians or Indonesians. That means there's only room for 10% more. So this is how the civil service is made up. 1 million, just under, comprised of Malays. Chinese, 73,000.
Right. Small number.
Sabah, Bumi Putera, 60,000. Bumi Putera, 60,000. So they're all more or less indigenous Malaysians and Chinese. That's all Malaysian and Indonesian. And then you've got 47,000 Indians, and that's it. So of 1 million, you've got about 120,000 that aren't Malaysian, which is, as it said, 10% basically. So that I would imagine that would be quite daunting to walk into that, because that is not racially diverse in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So,
but what's the representation within the country? So it seems like Chinese background, Malay, 10% in the civil service. What's that number in the rest of the population? Is it 10%? Is it 2%? Is it 40%? I guess we need to look at that. So yeah, is it representative of the rest of Malaysia?
Chinese population is anywhere between 20 to say 27% of Malaysia.
Okay.
So
they're underrepresented in the civil service.
They're definitely 10% underrepresented according to this. So, but that's one thing I was going to say, and we will wrap this up. But I just wanted to say that Australia gets coined with the moniker quite often about being a racist country, etc., etc. But and bits of Australia definitely are. There's no doubt about it. Many people that voted no to the referendum are definitely racist. No doubt about it. Not all, but many.
No, definitely not all. But yeah, a good percentage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very big percentage. Absolutely. And that's a real shame. But the thing is, it isn't just Australia. There's racism absolutely everywhere. I mean, New Zealand is really getting, you're finding where they are and how many there are in New Zealand right now, as we've spoken about the government before. In fact, we might do Across the Dutch next week and just find out what's going on in New Zealand, because I know there's a few things happening over there. So, but so I just wanted to flag that, just that, like the Japanese are quite racist of Chinese in Japan, and the Chinese are racist of anyone else in their country. So, it's so easy to use that term, racist, and it's actually every country is. It's the same if you go to Iran. They're pretty much, they're racist against another. Well, I don't call it racist, but they've got a real beef against someone with a different religion, etc. So much so they're more than happy to kill them for it.
Yeah.
So and etc. etc. So yeah, I just wanted to flag that. Not because I don't believe there are racists here, but I do believe there's racists everywhere. So anyway, and this is a classic example that not necessarily saying they are racist, but this is systematic racism without trying. So anyway, they're just saying that they need to reform this, and then maybe the Chinese over there might want to be part of it, which fair enough.
Interesting.
I suppose. Quite daunting.
Would be.
They just don't see any, apart from that guy I told you about before, they're just not seeing any real career advancement. They're not seeing any Chinese in higher positions. There's only, as I say, a handful. And so, yeah, you can understand that. So anyway, so that is our show for this evening. Unless you had anything else you wanted to add.
Nothing else to add, not to Chinese takeaway, no.
Beautiful. Did you have anything in general you wanted to add before we signed off?
No, other than I hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see everyone next Tuesday.
We will indeed. And just before we do sign off, I am just going to pop this up. No, not that. Just bear with me. It's here somewhere. I've just got to find it. Where is it? There it is. Okay, I'm going to pop this up. So I am popping up on the screen now. That's probably a little bit too big. And that's a little bit too small. Actually, I'll make that.
About 25 or 30.
Try 40. See how that goes. Oh no, didn't work. Oh come on, seriously. There we go. Okay.
That's better.
There we go. So on the screen now is a link to a show that I am in. It's on Sunday, March.
No,
March 23rd, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're doing 2 shows on the 23rd and 1 show on the 24th. 23rd is a Saturday. Sunday is the 24th. Tickets are at the Clock Tower Centre. If you are watching this on the video, you should be able to use the QR that's there. I believe that should work.
Should work. If not, we will have it on the show notes when it gets released.
Just checking to see if no, I can't get it to work.
Yep, mine worked. So yeah, it does work.
Oh, good. Glad yours did, because mine doesn't.
Yeah. Flemington Theatre Company presents now. Book now.
Yes, absolutely. Do book now. Tickets are going, which is good. We're not going to run out, obviously, but be good to have you there. We had about 400, nearly 500 people there last year for 3 or 4 shows, so it'd be good to get somewhere up those numbers this year. Lots of kids involved. It's a community event. It'll be a bit of fun. It only goes for an hour, so tickets are cheap. And, yeah, it's part of the community, so do that.
And what's your role?
I am Ben. I am a father of many decades. I am a father at 50, a father at 40, and a father at 80. So yeah, I go through the years.
You're a major father.
Yes, I am a major father. That is very, very true. And I had beans tonight, so there could be much more of that. So, but anyway, it's good night from me, and I hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed bringing it to you. We'll be here next week. Love you, Wencee.
All right, love you too. See you, everyone. Have a great week.